1 Minute Inspirations, Henry Street Church of Christ. The tricks Satan uses to stop you from coming to worship service. And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25, New King James Version. There is a reluctance to come to worship service before the COVID outbreak, during the COVID outbreak, and after the COVID outbreak. Lower numbers in worship service attendance has always been a problem. Unfortunately, this issue has been going on for over 2,000 years. It is not a new phenomenon. How does Satan brainwash the minds of so many, including professed Christians, to not take coming to worship service seriously or see it as nothing important? After studying this trend for decades and speaking to professed Christians over the years, I've come to these conclusions as to why Satan is effective in keeping so many out of worship service. First, remember, Satan wants to be God, and thus worship service acknowledges God's supremacy in our lives. So Satan will fight this act of service on our part because of hatred he has for God himself. Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 to verse number 11. Second, Satan will put forward misinformation, as we like to call it today. The real word that should be used is lies and not misinformation. He takes the scripture, Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, out of context to obscure its meaning. This means that he makes man come to the conclusion that it is not a falling away from God to miss worship service. It is certainly a falling away, because one has to read Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 that tells us as a church to encourage others to do good works. Since Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25 is directly after Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24, we know that attending worship service is a good work. So we must approach it as such. Being a good work means it is a required behavior of Christians, just like good works are giving to others, living morally upright, speaking only the truth, etc. Since all other good works are required by God, so is attending worship service. James chapter 2, verse 20. Third, worship service is an opportunity for us to give God the thanks for all of his blessings that he gives to us. James chapter 1, verse 17. When we do not attend worship service, we miss that opportunity. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 15. Fourth, worship service includes the Lord's Supper if the biblical precedence of partaking of it is followed like the first century church did. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, Acts chapter 20, verse 7. This is to be done to remember Jesus. Luke chapter 22, verse 19 and 20. When we do not attend worship service, we do not participate in the Lord's Supper. Hence, we are not giving Jesus the honor that he deserves each day of the week. Fifth, Satan gives us excuses to make us feel justified in not attending worship service. These are reasons that make us not feel guilty about missing worship service. We come up with many excuses, which are the cares of the world in Jesus' terminology. Mark chapter 4, verse 7, verse 19. The cares of the world, which are excuses based on selfish reasons, hinder us from having a real relationship with Jesus and causes us to fall away from serving him. One of those ways of falling away is to miss worship service. Sixth and lastly, when we do not attend worship service, we break the unity of the church. The first century church was steadfast in all things God wanted, including the Lord's Supper, fellowship with each other, and staying within the teachings of the apostles. When we miss worship service, we miss all of these. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. Well, I hope this brief message was helpful in inspiring us to attend worship service and equipped us with the knowledge to defeat Satan's mental schemes to keep us out of it. God bless you. Thanks for listening. This is a ministry of the Henry Street Church of Christ, 309 Henry Street, Gadsden, Alabama, USA, 35901, www.henrystreetchurchofchrist.com. Please subscribe to our channel. God bless you.